What's up, guys? It is Joe. We are back. We're talking ball about the Cats, and in today's video, we're going to do kind of a takeaway list here from the recent fall press conference from Chris Klieman, Connor Riley, a bunch of the dudes on the team. We're going to talk about all of my takeaways from that because I think there's some really good stuff in there, so I want to be sure and get that out of the way up front. We've got 10 takeaways officially. They're not ordered in least to most important. It's just 10 takeaways I had on that. I'm going to tell you my thoughts and more from the recent press conferences, but before I do, let me tell you this. Guys, at 3,000 subs, I'm getting that K-State tattoo. We're getting closer. I know it is the offseason, so we're taking our time getting there, but once that hits, once that happens, it'll get done. I promise you that. And if you like the content, subscribing is a good way to keep it on your feed, and it does help me out immensely. But guys, let me start off with my first takeaway. Now, before I get into this, let me also give a quick shout out. Both the guys over at K-State Online and the guys at Go PowerCat do a great job of putting all the content out there. So if you want to go watch their comments and have your own takeaways, think it for yourself, go ahead and watch that. They're on YouTube. You can find them. Just look up K-State Online or Go PowerCat. You'll see the full press conferences. It is a great spot to start. But for the sake of today's video, I'm going to give you my thoughts. I'm going to tell you what I thought about this because there was some stuff in there that I thought was beneath just surface level stuff to take away. And it's something that I think will pop up here in the upcoming season. But let me start with my first one. And we're going to focus on Connor Riley for this one. He had an awesome quote about DJ Giddens. Shout out our guy Glenn Kinley for asking this because you could hear Glenn in that and he killed it. Great question. He asked about what the leadership processes looked like for DJ Giddens this offseason, kind of stepping into that leadership role. What has that been like for DJ? And Connor Riley, besides making the joke about DJ being too turnt, dropped a great quote. And I thought it really paved way to a future thought I'll explain here in a sec. But he said this about DJ. DJ's doing a great job. And one thing with leaders, you can't ask young people to try to be something they're not. Just like I can't try to be Colin Klein. I can't try to be so-and-so. I've got to be Connor Riley, otherwise kids will see that. We have seen throughout the course of the summer him continue to be that leader, but we all know DJ, when he gets turnt, I believe, it's not maybe nearly as emotional, but the way that he practices, conducts his business, and the way that he supports the guys out there are the leadership qualities that I'm seeing him continue to grow with. I know this might not be the groundbreaking thought that you'd expect in this video, and we have more that are going to be a little bit closer to that category, but I thought it was a really cool way to describe, like, hey, we know DJ's a different dude. He's not a similar, running back, type dude where, like, not saying that position has a narrative like, oh, these dudes are, talkative or showboaty. That's not the case all the time, but running backs have a lot of screen time. DJ doesn't want any of that. That's the point. DJ just wants to go out and win football games, and it's something that I thought, like, it says so much about DJ because he doesn't have to talk a big game to make his teammates love him. He doesn't have to be this over-the-top dude. He goes out there and be himself. And that's so transparent with Kansas State football. Everybody's themselves and they make it work. It doesn't have to be this bigger locker room thing of everybody has to fit this specific mold. They can be themselves, and if you're the right dude, if you're a good dude, you're going to fit in. And that's the biggest thing with DJ that I think has really helped him get the success is he doesn't have to worry about press conference, this event. DJ can just do what he wants, be himself, and play football. And I think that's a really cool thing for DJ. The second takeaway from this, let's jump running backs here. We're going to talk a little bit about Dylan Edwards. Now, Dylan Edwards was one of the players that spoke. It was him. DJ was there. Obviously, Avery Johnson, Keegan Johnson, and I believe Taylor Portier were the guys that were up on stage. If I'm forgetting anybody, that's on me. But Dylan Edwards, I mean, you can see him. He's got a big personality. He's a really good dude, a great recruiter, great person. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me about Dylan Edwards is when the question was asked, hey, Dylan, how do you feel you can attack your plans to become a complete back? He kind of hesitated and said, I don't want to be a complete back. I want to be a complete player, all-around player. And I think I remember seeing something a couple months back about how Colorado didn't use him the right way, and Dylan truly wanted to be involved in the pass-catching game. He wanted to use every bit of his skill set to be who he can be on that football field. I don't worry about that happening at Kansas State. There's another quote there a little bit later we'll talk about, but Dylan Edwards is going to touch the football in any way possible. That dude is too good of an athlete to keep on the sidelines, and I think he's going to prove to be a complete player, not just a complete back. Like, the dude can be active in the screen game as a slot receiver. The dude can take end arounds if you need him to. You can go out of the backfield. He can rush up the A-gap. Whatever you need Dylan Edwards to do, the dude's going to be ready for it, and I think his impact is going to be massive this upcoming season. So something I liked there was that he's attacking it rather than just being, kind of that scat back role or just, I'm a Deuce Vaughn type guy. The dude can do whatever you want of him. It doesn't matter if he didn't go out there and be a lead blocker or if you wanted to take, 24 carries a game. The dude's going to be ready for it and attack it. He's going to go after it, and I appreciate that about Dylan Edwards. The third thing, we're going to jump to the offensive line here. Taylor Portier. Now, I know there's a comment in there that says there's 7 guys in the rotation. We'll talk about Connor Riley's line here a little bit later. But Taylor Portier, he jumps out to me as this group's leader. I could be wrong. I could be reading the vibes wrong, but Taylor Portier feels like the heart and soul of this O-line. Last year was Cooper Beebe. You know the type of dude he was. It was a combination of a couple guys. Taylor Poitier feels like that dude for this year. I don't know what the on-the-field product's going to look like for him, but he is a good enough football player that the dudes around him respect him. You know the adversity he's battled with the injury situation, and I think he's going to be a heck of a football player. Whether they toss him at right guard, left guard, whatever they need him to do, whether it's a starter or rotating in, I think TP is going to be that dude this season. So don't, overreact or underreact when the dude steps out there. I think he's going to quickly reverse narratives. He talked about personal goals being on that all Big 12 team, whether it's first team, second team, honorable mention. He wants to see his name up there. And he wants Kansas State to have the best O-line in the Big 12, and I am all here for that. Fourth takeaway of this video is the pair of Johnsons, Avery and Keegan. I think this duo is going to be really, really good. I know the caveat is that Keegan has to stay healthy. No one's disputing that. No one's disagreeing with that. They talked to him this offseason, and the dude seems mature. He seems more confident. He seems more able. Like, his ability to go out on the football field has never been the question. It's the availability. It's not the physical ability or the pass-catching ability, whatever you need him. It's keeping him healthy on the football field. This offseason sounds like it's been a lot better. I know he sustained an injury late last offseason, getting real close to the start of the season, but I think Keegan Johnson is going to truly be the best receiver for Kansas State this season. I'm going to say that right now. I could be wrong. Maybe it just shifts coverage around so Jace Brown gets more open in the slot, or Dante Cephas has a big year, or any of the young guys. I'm believing the Keegan Johnson hype. You can sign me up for that right now. And Avery Johnson is another guy believing that hype. He basically said this: if I see him in single coverage, I'm throwing it his way. What are you going to do about that? Toss it up to Keegan Johnson. I think he's a heck of a football player. And it's time that he can stay healthy. We got to keep him on the field because he's going to be a game changer when he is out there. Takeaway number 5 from the press conferences was our guy DJ Giddens, jumping back to DJ, who talked about what the one thing he's working on this offseason above the rest is. It's being more explosive. First of all, it's a scary sight to think about because DJ Giddens is a heck of a football player. He's electric. He makes the big plays. But if that's his focus, I'm telling you right now, DJ's going to have it happen. He mentioned one of his answers. He's been watching Deuce's 2022 highlight reel every single day, every single week, trying to learn the routes better, trying to do this better, that better. He's trying to take every single thing he can from Deuce's game to add it to his game so he can make more of those electric plays. That's a huge thing, folks. DJ Giddens has that second gear. He's got that ability. He's a heck of a ball carrier, a patient back. I think DJ's going to make some massive plays this season. If Dylan Edwards moves slightly, 3 dudes on the defense are following that because they know the threat that he has the second he touches the football. They're going to try to stop DJ in any way they can. He's going to have an impact in the passing game beyond than just like teams are going to cater to defending a simple track approach of stop DJ up, north-south, stop Dylan Edwards east-west. I don't think either back is looking at it as like, I'm the north-south guy, I'm the east-west guy. They are both multifaceted players, and it's going to be a heck of a thing to see with DJ with a full head of steam. Watching that 2022 Deuce Vaughn highlight tape, I mean, we're in for a treat in that sense. Number 6, the next takeaway on this list, was Connor Riley. He name-dropped what he says the starting offensive line would be as of right now. Obviously, there's a 7-guy total. Some dudes are rotating and some aren't. These are the dudes from left to right we're looking at. Left tackle, Easton Kilty. Left guard, Hadley Panzer. Center, Sam Hecht. Right guard, Taylor Poitier. Right tackle, Carver Willis. That's a good starting line. And then you have 2 more guys rotating it in John Pastore and Andrew Langang. Both those guys being a little bit more utility-based. I believe Pastore is more on the tackle-to-tackle approach, with Andrew Langang being able to play basically anything but center as of right now. I know some people are a little weary of playing a young guy like Sam Hecht at center. The dude's worked for it, and I got to tell you this. I'm not a huge O-line guy. I don't know all the ins and outs of running in the trenches, but what I do know is that Connor Riley does know that stuff. I'm not disagreeing with the best offensive line coach in football. I'm just not. That's a good starting lineup, and the dudes are playing with a chip on their shoulder. Avery talked about that where, hey, everybody thinks we can't run anymore. Everybody thinks we can't block anymore. Everybody thinks we can't drop back to pass anymore because we lost Coop, because we lost Duffy, because we lost 3 or 4 starters. Everybody thinks we aren't the same offensive line we were, or, thinks that we're going to be bad. The offensive line has that chip on their shoulder. That's a scary sight. You get Connor Riley-led dudes with a massive chip on their shoulder beyond what they normally have. I think Kansas State could have one of the best offensive lines in the Big 12. That center position will be one to watch with Sam Hecht, but I think he's cut out for it. I know he's putting on weight and getting bigger each and every day, so something to watch for there. Number 7, my number 7 takeaway on this is Matt Wells. This offense, I think it's been said a lot of times by a bunch of different people, it has continued to evolve based on offensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. Everybody adds their own facets to it, and it continues to improve. Back in the chaos when everybody's like, Connor Riley's going to convert us to the wishbone offense, and Avery will run it 35 times a game, DJ 50 times a game. Back when everybody thought that, he basically mentioned, hey, we've had too much success to change this offense. It will be different. There will be different aspects of it, but we're not going to throw it out the window and start fresh. That's just not what we're going to do in year 5 of the Chris Klieman era, whatever the case is. Matt Wells, however, adds a bigger change than we've seen in years past. Colin Klein's been the last couple of years. Obviously, you've had different coordinators come along here and there. Some successful, some not. If I had to take a guess, I do think DJ is going to be more of a feature piece in this offense. But I know Connor Riley also trusts his offensive line. However, that also means you're going to have so much more in the screen game. You're going to see so many more screens on the outside. You might see tight end screens like you saw with Ben Sinnott last year. You're going to see different players making plays that we haven't seen in years past. Like, Matt Wells has so much experience. He was just at Oklahoma, one of the highest flying offenses in the country. Tying that into Kansas State's passing game, that's going to be a big deal. And I'm excited to see how that looks here in the fall. Takeaway number 8 came from the man himself, Chris Klieman. He talked the day before everybody else, so he had his own press conference day than everybody else. I assume tomorrow or the day you're watching this, we'll probably see Coach Klanderman, some defensive guys sit up there and talk. But the mindset change has been refreshing to hear. Last season, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with this. I think guys looked too far ahead. They just did. They looked ahead to the big moments. They didn't focus on each game or the process enough. You can hear some guys talk about the process, some not. Will Howard is an example of a guy that was really hitting like hey, this is a big game coming up. We got to be ready for the big game. And then there's games in between that might have gotten lost on the cracks or that the team may have not prioritized as much because they were focused on the end goal. That's not happening this season. Chris Klieman has been open. Hey, this is not about where could we be when the college football playoff comes around. This is how are we going to get better on Tuesday? How are we going to get better on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Everything that happened the day before does not matter. How do we get better today? And I think that's going to be an infectious personality for the entire team, and that bodes well. You don't want to be a team that looks towards, okay, we've got Utah on the schedule. Obviously, Kansas State doesn't, but in theory, you've got Utah on the schedule, Arizona on the schedule, Kansas on the schedule, Oklahoma State. Those are the big games, so forget TCU, forget Baylor, forget BYU. That's not the way this team's going to go. Everybody's talking about it. We're focused on UT Martin, and that's the way they got to keep it. One day at a time, one game at a time. We're getting closer ourselves. Takeaway number 9. This one's not a shock. This one might just tie into the last statement, so maybe I'm splitting baby hairs here. But number 9 is that the guys are ready for the season, man. I don't know if I can remember a time when people were this excited. Not just the fan base, but specifically the players. Dudes buying in. Hey, we are so ready to get the pads on. We want to play football. We want to get out of conditioning. We want to be ready for the season. That happened last season. But I don't think I heard as much excitement for the first official game, for the first official practice. It was more, hey, once the Big 12 season starts up, once the entire season as a whole is here, it wasn't such a thing of, we're ready to practice today. I want to put the pads on. I want to play. These dudes have such an increased level of excitement. The coaching staff does. The fan base obviously does. It's a new era of Kansas State football, and that's apparent to me. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I didn't see that. Number 10, the final takeaway I had from this press conference, you probably have seen some stuff about it. Jacob Parrish and Keenan Garber are big dogs. The dudes are both pushing north of 200 pounds, and they're quicker, stronger, faster, more consistent, more experienced. Chris Klieman raved about the pair of them. I think we're going to have a lot of success in the secondary, and I'm going to stake a claim now that's pretty bold, I would say. This is going to be the best secondary Chris Klieman's had at Kansas State. And that's saying a lot considering you have 2 NFL guys in Julius Brents and Echo Boydo. That's saying a lot considering you have multiple guys in the secondary. You know, Josh Hayes, you had Russ Yeast, you have a couple different dudes come through and go to the league. You know, Reggie Stubblefield was a heck of a football player, goes to the CFL, has a heck of a first year there. He's going to end up back in the NFL. He just will. It's saying something to say that. We're going to have the best secondary this season in Chris Klieman's tenure at Kansas State, and I do not doubt that whatsoever. Those are my 10 takeaways here on the press conferences for the fall. I might record one for defense. We'll talk about that if there's enough takeaways. If not, I'll get to you here in a couple of days with some more content, but I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Go Cats!